Right, so hello everyone, I'm Yolanda Calvo, and together with my colleague Naara Queiruga, we're going to be presenting this paper, which is entitled Informal Language Learning in the English for Tourism Classroom, a Didactic Approach for Enhancing Productive Skills via Social Networks. So generally speaking, when recruiters that are doing job interviews to people that are going to work within the tourism sector, they will generally be looking for candidates that will have most of these skills. And here I'm going to highlight 3 of them for the purposes of our presentation today. So these future candidates should have good networking and communication skills, to be good at languages, and to be creative and innovative, and have developed quite some good digital skills. So here we have the basis of our paper. So on the one hand, we're going to be looking at how we can use social networks in the tourism ESP classroom. Why have we selected social networks? Well, firstly, because it's a technological resource that students and even ourselves as teachers, we use it daily, but to the best of our knowledge, we think that these students rarely use them in English. They're basically using them in their native languages. And also because tourism graduates will most likely have to use these resources when they enter the professional world and communicate with clients and customers through these tools. And on the other hand, we're going to emphasize productive skills. Why? Because they're the 2 skills that Spanish students of English tend to have most problems with, but also because they're going to be the most important skills for these tourism students, again, when they enter the professional sector. So quite a lot of research has been done on the use of social media in the language classroom, and here we've summarized some of the main benefits or positive results that have been obtained. So first, they have been found that they can help students improve their level of English at different levels. So for instance, vocabulary, reading comprehension, listening, and or pronunciation. Similarly, they can help them improve their mastery of the language, allow them to be more relaxed. Of course, they are tools that enable us to access authentic materials and interact with native speakers. Other studies have found that using these tools in the classroom boosts the students' confidence or increases their motivation and makes them enjoy themselves more. They can also help students learn from their classmates and enhances autonomous learning. And finally, they have been found to help the students think in English and not in their native language. So despite the usefulness of all the previously mentioned studies, broadly speaking, most of them focus on English as a foreign language learners, whereas in our case, our innovation is that we're going to be carrying out this study within an ESP setting, which is tourism. So our main aim is to describe some activities we have created for getting tourism students to use social networks to practice English, both in oral and written format. Just before I give the floor to my colleague, I'm just going to speak a little bit about our ESP context. So the undergraduates in tourism at the University of the Balearic Islands, they have to complete 3 obligatory instrumental ESP subjects. So in English 1, the main focus is on customer service and tourist information in different professional settings. In English 2, we look at promotional presentations, and then in English 3, focus is on business meetings, job interviews, and handling complaints. All of these subjects are highly practical, and a lot of emphasis is placed on written and spoken skills. Students receive 2 90-minute classes per week, and they begin in English 1 with an ideal B1 plus level, and hopefully by the end of English 3, they will have reached a B2 plus level. Just a little bit about what students have to do regarding this spoken and written skills in these subjects. So in English 1, at the end of the semester, they have to hand in 2 videos that are recorded in pairs. One is for a hotel reservation, and the other one is a problem that they have at the airport, and they have to solve it. And then they also have an individual exam in which they have to prepare some topics and have this individual oral exam with their teacher. In English 2, the main spoken activity is the promotional presentation. So it's a presentation they do in front of the whole class, and they have to promote a service, a product, a theme park, a hotel, etc. And then in English 3, we have these 2 activities. So first, they have to face an individual job interview simulation exam. And they also have to record video in small groups, simulating a business meeting. On the other hand, if we look at the written component in English 1, we look at cover letters for applying for a job, emails to confirm a booking, and how to reply to general inquiries. In English 2, the main focus is on pie charts and line graph analysis, but also on the different parts of the promotional presentation that they have to do at the end of the semester. And finally, in English 3, we look at CVs, how to reply to a letter of apology to a complaint, and how to reply to a letter of a complaint by writing a letter of apology, and finally writing the minutes of the meeting. Right, so just very quickly, as we're going to focus on using our activities that we have designed are going to try and focus on authentic language that the students will afterwards use outside of the classroom in their professional context. And although we have specifically designed them for tourism students, we do believe that they can easily be adapted to other ESP or EFL contexts. And now I will pass you on to my colleague Naara, who's going to present these activities and draw some conclusions. Thank you, Naara.
Thank you, Yolanda. So the first activity that we designed would be for the English 1 for tourism subject, and it is meant to emphasize the writing skill and also allow students to practice vocabulary. And in this activity, they will need to use WhatsApp to organize a group trip, and they will have to create a WhatsApp group for this specific purpose, where they will have to decide on things such as the type of vacation they want to go on, where they will go, modes of transportation, among many other things. And because the main idea of this activity is to encourage the students to write in English while using social media, the use of authentic language such as links or emojis is seen as a positive element, and as is creativity. These two screenshots are a representation of what this activity entails, and as you can see in this conversation, the 3 students are organizing a trip, and they use authentic language, but they also send each other pictures of the hotel that they want to stay in. The second part of this activity involves using YouTube, and in this case, a video is recorded after the supposed trip in order to explain everything that took place during that trip. Then it's uploaded to YouTube, and after that, their classmates have 2 weeks to ask them questions in the comments section, and the group has to answer these questions. Therefore, this focuses not only on writing, but also on speaking. The third activity we want to put into practice will also be done in the English 1 for tourism class, but this time the students will have to use Facebook. And in fact, the teacher will have to create a Facebook account for the sole purpose of doing this activity. So in order to practice their writing skills, students have to leave a comment on this Facebook page in which they talk about a great or a terrible experience that they had while on a holiday. And their classmates should react to these stories and leave comments in the form of questions, or they can share a similar experience, etc. Yolanda and I came up with this example, which is actually based on our own experiences, but it's an example of a comment that students could make. And if you would like to read the example, you should pause the video now. For English 2 for tourism, we came up with an activity which could be done via Instagram. This focuses on the skills of speaking and writing, and the teacher creates an Instagram account called UIB_English 2. The activity consists of recording a 1-minute video in which the students try to sell a product or promote a hotel. And once they've recorded it and created the final version, they send it to the teacher, who then uploads it to the Instagram account so that the rest of the classmates can give feedback to the top 3 hotels or products that they would actually invest in. Another platform that we want to use in English 2 for tourism is Moodle, and we want to use it to analyze charts. To begin, the teacher divides the class into groups of four and gives them 2 line graphs and 2 pie charts to analyze. So at this point, the groups of 4 divide themselves into 2 separate groups, and each pair works on 1 line graph and 1 pie chart. Then they upload their analysis to the forum section in Moodle and leave comments with feedback on the other pair's descriptions. Lastly, they have to write a final version of their analysis and send it to the teacher, who will then correct it and upload it to the platform so that the students can use all of them as models when they are studying for the final exam. Here you can see an example of the activity, and in this case, we decided to show you 2 pie charts that could be given to the students. And on this slide, you can see an example of a pie chart analysis and the feedback another pair gives them. And if you'd like to read the example, you can pause the video now. The 6th activity we would like to implement in our classes is for English 3 for tourism. And in this class, students are required to record a business meeting. But we wanted to change it a bit and use Anchor, which is a tool used to record and publish podcasts. So, of course, in this case, the skill to be emphasized would be speaking. To begin, the teacher divides the class into groups of 4 or 5 students, and each group has to practice different scenes of the business meeting video in audio form by recording podcasts on Anchor. And the teacher also gives them spoken feedback on both content and form. After receiving this feedback, the groups have to record a final version of their podcast, and at the end of the semester, they have to choose one of the podcasts to publish on Anchor, and the other students will have to comment on them. The second activity for English 3 for tourism deals with complaints and emphasizes the skill of writing. In this activity, students have to write 2 versions of a letter of apology, one before having explained them in class and the other after. The teacher creates a Facebook page in which he or she then uploads the instructions, and then the students write their letters and leave them as comments. The teacher then creates a list of common mistakes found in this first version. So on this slide, you can see examples of the prompt and a student's answer. If you want to read the letter, you should pause this video now. And this specific prompt specifies about what the complaints were about, and the student answers accordingly. However, she does not do it with the diplomacy needed in these situations, so the teacher gives her feedback on this, which she would then have to include in her final version. On this slide, you can see the corrected version of the letter in which the student apologizes earnestly and with tact. And if you'd like to read the letter, you could pause the video now. The last activity we want to include in our English 3 for tourism curriculum consists of 2 videos of a job interview. The class is divided into pairs, and each pair has to record 2 videos. In the first, one student is the interviewer and the other is the interviewee, and in the second, they have to exchange roles. Students record the first video shortly after starting the subject, which is about 2 or 3 weeks into the semester, and before this unit is explained in class. The second video is recorded after instruction at the end of the semester. So both videos are uploaded to YouTube, and students are expected to give feedback in the form of comments to about 3 or 4 pairs that will be assigned to them by the teacher. And this feedback should focus on both how they have improved and what they can continue to improve on. Pairs also have to leave a comment with the self-evaluation in their own videos. To conclude, it's important for tourism students to develop their communicative and language skills as well as their transversal skills, since they will most likely be characteristics that recruiting employers will look for in future candidates. We can also say that university students spend many hours using social networks in their native languages, but very rarely use them in English. And we believe that using social networks in the tourism ESP classroom is a successful way of helping students develop both their language skills, especially writing and speaking, and their digital competence. In the next academic years, we would like to implement some of these activities explained here today with our tourism students in order to analyze the extent to which they enjoy using these tools to practice their English, and also to identify whether they improve their written and spoken skills, as well as grammar and vocabulary, etc., when doing so. Both Yolanda and I would like to thank you for your attention. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation. And if you have any further questions or comments, you can also contact us via the emails on this slide. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.